great deal of appreciation to the Fish family. Louder applause. This really shows some appreciation. And he's been, it's called The Last American President, so you can kind of guess it talks about politics. And I have an agent who just the last couple of weeks has been in New York talking to the big publishing houses in New York about publishing my book. They've read it. He was back in, he submitted it to them. They've been reading it. And he was back visiting with them, and they're deciding whether or not to publish the book. And every one of them asked the same question of him. Okay, the guy who wrote this, is he a Republican or a Democrat? And Kevin responds, as an agent would, well, that shows the bipartisan appeal of this book that you can't tell. I'll pay him extra for that comment. But then they look at it again and they go, wait a minute. The main character, the hero of the story, is registered Republican. It says so. It's very clear in the book. But he seems to be against war. And he doesn't seem to hate gay people. And they, in New York, these New York liberals, they just couldn't figure out how a Republican could possibly be against war and not hate gay people. And, so the author, is he a Republican or a Democrat? And so Kevin responds, well, he is a Republican, but he voted for Ron Paul. And and he calls me, tells me, he says, every one of these, he talks to them, and every one of them, he tells them, he's a Republican, but he voted for Ron Paul, and then he gets this sigh and this dismissive, oh. And Kevin's asking me, what do I do? How do I respond to this dismissal? And I say, simple, Kevin, don't worry about it. They can dismiss me. That's all right. They can dismiss all 30,000 of us in Oklahoma. That's okay. They can dismiss the millions of us across the country. And that's okay. Because we will continue. And we can just almost invisibly continue to go and continue to move forward. And we will take over the Republican Party. And in doing so, go ahead, yeah, that's fine. And in doing so, we're going to end up ridding the Republican Party of the very things that make Democrats crazy. And the very things that Democrats use to accuse us of being hate-mongers and warmongers. By getting rid of those things, then what do the Democrats have to do? Well, what they then have to do is they need to decide, are they going to be purely partisan Democrats, or are they going to then choose liberty? And, I'll tell you, frankly, I think most of them are going to stick with purely partisan Democrats. But some, as some of you, will end up then saying, I'll choose liberty. And that's important. We will, in the liberty movement, continue to grow. And more importantly, we will win the issues. Because liberty is the right side on the issues. And I am certain we will win. How can I be so sure that we're going to win this? I can be so sure that we're going to win because liberty is morally superior. Because liberty is the desire of all men. Liberty is the undeniable force and the unquenchable thirst of every man's soul. And liberty is the natural state in which God created us. Yeah. Liberty will win because it must win. It must win. It has to. The battle between those who wish the minority who wish to tyrannize the majority, and every man who wishes for himself liberty. The argument for liberty has to win. And we who have our eyes open will never stop, because we have a vested interest. And the amazing thing is, we hunger for liberty, and we desire liberty, while at the same time we protect it, even when we don't already have it. Why? Because we had it upon earth. We had it by the virtue of being a human created by God. And so even when we don't have it, we protect it. We guard it. We defend it as if we had it, because it's rightfully ours. It's our rightful property. We put up here a Gadsden flag, and I don't know how many of you looked at it, but I want to talk to you about where that flag came from and what it means just a little bit. General Christopher Gadsden of South Carolina designed it. One of our founding fathers, a general in the Continental Army fighting for American liberty over the British. The wrong way. And he designed it, as you can see, coiled rattlesnake. And people say, some people think it's violent. And I don't want to be violent. But it's entirely defensive. And it says under it, don't tread on me. Because you know the rattlesnake gains nothing by striking you. He doesn't eat you that way. You know, if you're walking through a field and he strikes you, it's because he's afraid. He's concerned you're going to step on him. He's protecting himself. He's entirely defensive. Okay? If you were a mouse, he wouldn't bother you to strike you. Just bite and swallow. Okay? You're not. He strikes to defend. And this says, don't tread on me. Even when those founding fathers, even when Gadsden himself did not have liberty, he acted as though he had liberty. He acted as one whose birthright was liberty, and said, we will be like that coiled snake, prepared to strike at anyone who treads upon our liberty, even though they make no claim that liberty is rightfully ours. And we need to be like that. We need to be ever vigilant, standing firm for our own liberty. And we can, and we should, and we must. We have begun an organization called the Gadsden League, which you'll be hearing more about shortly. Protecting, defending, preserving, pushing forward for liberty at greater and greater levels. Here at home, locally within your county, in your state, and nationally. Another little story from the time of the Roman Empire. There was a slave. He was actually originally from the area we now call Bulgaria, Thrace. His name was Spartacus. He was a slave, was trained as a gladiator, and he revolted away from and against Rome. And he had garnered up and brought to his side other escaped slaves, more and more and more, thousands. Men and women and their families escaping away from Roman tyranny. Slaves by no virtue of any debt owed, but just taken into slavery. And they rebelled. And they went up and down the peninsula of Italy. And they ransacked it. And they said, we will not be their slaves. And we owe them nothing. In fact, they owe us, and took their liberty back. But unfortunately for them, at one point, drafted the southern edge of the peninsula.